Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here today with Ted Ings. Today, we're going beyond the basics. We're diving into the full life cycle of a part from sourcing to installation to returns and uncovering where inefficiencies hide, Ted.
And Sarah, these are not hypothetical challenges. They're the daily operational challenges that dealers face right now. And there are tools available that are already driving profitability and scalability and operational excellence. Joining us today is the team from Epicor, both Jake Aschendorf, we'll all be familiar with Jake, welcome, and John Haluch are here as well. And from retail, from Fuller Ford in Cincinnati, Ohio, John Book is here. So, everybody, welcome to the event and glad to have you all here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, Jake, to kick things off, let's begin where every part's journey starts, which is sourcing. Dealers today are under pressure to move fast, stay accurate, and anticipate demand before it hits. So, how should dealers be thinking differently about sourcing in today's data driven environment?
Well, Sarah, great question. And the first thing is we have to get rid of our gut, so to speak, right? We have to get out of the way we've been doing business for the last 50 years, which is completely reactionary for the most part. We need to start thinking just like the front end operations did with appraisals and all the technology that has come to bear within the automotive industry. So, what does that really mean? So, we have to start using data to truly drive what we're doing and how we're sourcing. So, we have to go beyond just what did we sell yesterday? What did we sell last week? And the information that's housed within just our DMS system. The problem is, where do you get that information? It can be cumbersome, it can be hard to navigate. And just because you get the data, how do you implement that? How does that tell the story of what to do? So, one of the things that we say here at Epicor is you have to use AI. And AI means a lot of things to a lot of people. And what it means to us at Epicor is automotive intelligence, right? So we're going to take all that intelligence and we're going to put rules and programs and algorithms around it that's going to take all those data bricks, just like a Lego set, and it's going to build that creation. It's going to say, okay, you need to do this and this. So what did we really do? We automated the heavy lifting of taking different data sources like VIO, vehicles in operations. We'll put that in with that historical data and we'll take a look. How many Ford F-150s and this mileage band and this range had this problem? Well, maybe you should stock more of this part or less of this part because the propensity and the market share of Ford F-150s that would relate is either higher or lower. So that's really the demand forecasting. So get out of just the traditional methodology of you sold four, replace with four. Well, what happened the first 5 months of the year or the first 10 months of the year? Did you really sell four or did you just have a run that last month that turned that inventory? And now your reorder point is still right back to I sold four, I stocked four. Well, that's the wrong methodology for heavy wholesale parts users because you need every ounce of space within your warehouse and you need to use your checkbook, that parts inventory, for those fast moving, high return, high margin parts.
Jake, great advice. John Haluch, I want to come over to you. Once a part is ordered from the end customer, your end customer, what's the next challenge that dealers are faced with in moving the part to the end customer?
Absolutely, Ted. Like every part of society, it's I need it now. So that installer, that body shop, to a large degree, has a vehicle that's tied up. They need that part to complete the repair, and so the challenge for the dealer is how to effectively, efficiently get that product out of their location into the hands of their customers. But most operations can't do hot shot all day long, right? You've got to figure out a way to optimize your routing, to aggregate some of those deliveries, to have some economies of scale across the customer base. And ultimately, that's, I think, where Elite Extra strives, is the technology to do that. Thankfully, we've got John Book from Fuller Ford on, and John's been a longtime customer, so he can probably speak a little bit more directly to those challenges and how we're able to help satisfy that demand from his customers.
Sure.
Sure, absolutely. Like John said, we're a longtime customer of Elite Extra. I'm guessing 12, 13 years. I've been in the business almost 40 now, and we've gone from paper and pencil routing drivers to drivers calling in from each individual stop to pagers and to where we're at now. It's really the transformation over the last 4 decades has been amazing, and probably the last couple years is really 5x that. So to your original question. Without a tool using Elite as an app, it was sort of when invoices got printed, there was no timestamp on them. The customer, when they hang up the phone, they just assume that part's getting picked and getting on a truck right now. And we had no connection from the warehousing procedure from the time it got picked to it got loaded on the truck. And now we've got eyes on that from invoice print to final scan onto a truck, and that data is all super important to customers, and it's even more so today. I think our cell phones have our expectations with instant everything is definitely transitioned into our business. So customers expect things quick. So you've got to be on top of that.
Great insight, John. And John Halleck, I want to come to you because returns are often treated in dealerships as an afterthought, but they're a really critical part of the parts life cycle. So, what's the opportunity dealers are missing when it comes to returns, and how can automation change the game?
Absolutely, Sarah. We have to realize that it's a very competitive parts landscape, and so it's all about how do you manage the customer experience, and as a supplier, how are you as easy to do business with as possible, because there are so many options out there. So returns is just yet another touch point for the dealer, the supplier to differentiate themselves. Historically, returns process hasn't really changed much since the advent of pen and paper. Think about all of the technology that's been implemented in the dealer space in the last couple of decades. And the returns process has basically been driver carries around a 3-part carbon copy book and they're writing down the information. And quite frankly, more often than not, they're doing a bad job of it. You don't hire a driver based on the quality of their handwriting. And so, for the dealer side, the ability to create an RMA, authorize it based off of the returns rules, automatically add that into the manifest so the driver isn't surprised when they get to the installer and there's 5 parts waiting for them to be picked up, to be able to provide real-time notification to the customer on the status of that return. It's fundamentally everyone has gotten used to the returns world in the B2C space, right? You return something on Amazon, you have no questions about what happens next. And so for us, it's really trying to bring that B2C returns experience to the B2B world, digitize the data, automate the workflows, and the end result ultimately is a smoother, cleaner operation with greater visibility, and a satisfied customer who's getting their credit turned in a very short period of time.
Everyone, I will say this on behalf of the audience watching. There is a lot more love for parts today, okay? And I appreciate the great focus on parts that Elite Extra, Epicor provide. John Halleck, coming back to you, when you zoom out and look at the full life cycle from sourcing to returns, what does a truly optimized parts operation look like today? And how should dealers be thinking about integration as having a competitive advantage?
Yeah, it's all about creating a frictionless experience where you can. It would be great if every system talked to every other system. It's not always the case, but to the degree that that data flow can go from the e-commerce system into the invoicing platform, into the delivery system. John can probably speak this better than anyone, but the days of unlimited resources in the dealership, especially in the parts department, I'm not sure we're ever getting back to that, right? So it's all about doing more with less. And so having that, fully integrated experience is going to maximize the productivity with the resources and ultimately give the customer the experience that they're looking for to differentiate you as a supplier. You can't always compete on dollars and cents. It's not a great way to run a profitable business. So you've got to find other ways to differentiate yourself, and having that level of automation, integration, and in a holistic environment, I think is really where the best operators succeed.
And John Book, over to you. Your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely agree to all of that. In particular, the MSO business, the multiple shop operations that are buying up the small body shop operations and combining, they expect that from their vendors now. The whole point of this conversation today is data. The MSOs are driven by data as well. Not only their discount data, but their returns data, how fast they get their credits. And to John's point, to differentiate us from our competitors, and returns is getting to be a bigger and bigger part of that. We are processing our returns now within hours. Our goal used to be 24 hours. Now our morning runs are this morning. Anything brought back this morning, the credit's already back to the customer. I think we're probably on the leading edge of that, and we want to maintain that advantage over customers. But certainly we had hiccups when we brought the returns portal to our customers. As John can allude to, it's something new. Like, went from the 3-part, the drivers of the dealership writing it all up, and now we're flipping some of that work back on the customers. But once they saw the tool, see they had access to all the invoices, their credits, getting them instantly, they've really come on board. But to be in the large, especially the MSO business, you have to have a vibrant return system.
And John Book, I want to come back to something that you touched on a little bit and expand on it. And really, it's around the logistics component of this. So, in your experience, what kind of impact did you see as a dealer when you fully embrace a solution like Elite Extra to really modernize this logistics operation?
So having eyes on the returns before they actually come in the building has been huge. Before that, the drivers would come to a shop. The shop would just hand them everything back. We may not want it back to begin with, but from the shop's perspective, once that driver has picked it up, they just assume they're getting a credit. Now we can have a conversation before that part's picked up. Hey, it was a special order. It was 30 days ago. We can't take it back, and it's a lot less confrontational than once the part's in the building, and then we've got to return it back to the customer. So it's an extra trip and an extra logistic hassle. So, just having sights on the whole process is amazing.
And John Book, just to go back to your comments a few minutes ago, it's amazing the evolution that it has taken over the last 30, 40 years. But you're so right. It seems that in just the last handful of years, John Book, it's really, really been stepped up and accelerated. And it continues to move at a faster pace, like you're saying, with these returns and crediting them that very same day.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the program started out, that we're really anxious on how AI is going to be more and more developed into the Elite Extra tool, from routing to credits. I'm super anxious on to see the progression with that. As far as automated as it is, it's still, with the AI function put into that, it's going to be mind blowing.
So speaking of which, Jake, as dealers look ahead, what role do you see AI and predictive tooling playing in the next evolution of fixed ops? We've talked about this predictive element a few roundtables ago, but how close are we to a future where parts movement, sourcing, and returns are not just automated, but intelligently optimized in real time?
Ted, that really all depends on our industry, and it starts with forums like yourself. So Epicor has been doing these things for about 20 years in the aftermarket space. And when you take a look at the aftermarket space, it's a same alternator, just with a different logo on it, right? So for the franchise dealers that are out there in the audience today, Epicor has been doing this in all facets and all stages of the games for many years. If we talk about AI or automation, we've brought that into all of our tools for the last 20 years. So if we talk about just warehouse management, we've been paperless for about 15 years. Wow. We've even now built into those robotic automations for self-picking by a robot. So we have the two largest firms that are out there that we've now integrated into our W warehouse management, to where it takes the robot to go and pick the parts 24/7, 365, AI versus automation, all brought together under one platform. When you think about just routing and dispatch, you heard from John Book, they've had Elite Extra for almost 12 years. Just think of all that routing and dispatch, all that AI and automation that happened 12 years ago. But yet it seems like we're still talking about it like it's brand new, like nobody's ever heard of the automation or the AI that it has to take to dynamically shift the route from one pickup to another, reclass that whole thing, and ship back out a new route to the driver. When we add in returns automation, we've all seen the same type of thing from Amazon for years, but yet it's just now becoming to the forefront in the franchise dealership space. When you just think about warehouse inventory in itself, the on-demand, the inventory optimization and planning, demand forecasting, all of that's using not only automation, but it's using AI and data points, bringing everything together. Like I said in the very beginning, it's all about automotive intelligence. We live in a world today where we can bring that to each and every single dealer that is considering or is already 100% dedicated into the parts wholesaling business. It's just a new name, but all the tools are ready and available today.
Jake, I dare say this, but it seems that parts may ultimately be the most exciting place to be in automotive right now, especially with all of these new tools and technologies and retail. And Jake, it's an exciting time, nonetheless, to be in our business.
It sure is. And look, the business is changing every day. Every day I work with product and innovation. We have a 3 to 5 year roadmap. I would love to be able to collaborate even more with people like John Book and his dealership, let alone other ones that are forward thinking in the parts and service industry, that's saying, you know what, I have this problem today, let's fix it. It may not happen in 2 months, 6 months, or a year, but let me tell you, rest assured, there are solutions and answers that are out there, and we need to start thinking the way Steve Jobs did, which was when he created the iPhone, he created a device that no one knew we needed. And yet smartphone and smartphone technology is something we can't live without. He just wanted a MP3 player that went above and beyond, that now has connected us in so many different ways with the smartphone. Truly a visionary when it comes to that.
Everybody, Epicor is all about innovation. I want to thank our guests from Epicor, Elite Extra, and Fuller Ford for walking us through the life cycle of a part. And if you're ready to turn these inefficiencies of the past into profit today, now's the time to reevaluate your workflows because there are solutions already working, as you're hearing today, providing gains. I want to thank John Book from Fuller Ford for being with us today. John, thank you so much. John Haluch from Elite Extra and Epicor, thank you for all you do for the industry. Jake, once again, didn't fail to deliver Epicor as a great story, and you're making great strides. So congratulations to you, Jake, and the team there at Epicor.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure being here with you and all the other members of the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
And Sarah and I want to take a moment to wish all of you and your families a very happy Thanksgiving next week. So on behalf of us, thanks for all you do. Everybody, the Epicor panel here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.